Welcome to Trinity Place in Geneva, New York. My name is Cameron Miller. This is Reflection for the third Sunday of Advent. And I am, for one, done with John the Baptist. He has a place in our story, of course, but the lectionary makes it way too prominent for this time of year. For any time of year. Isaiah 61, now that's a different story. We hear it and see it almost everywhere we look. In fact, that poem from Isaiah builds a scaffolding around the Christmas story itself. And you will see what I mean, because I want to shift attention on this third Sunday of Advent toward the Christmas story. So let's gather around the manger scene and look deeply into this Christmas story for just a moment before the night and the day arrive. Knowing what we know about holding a newborn infant is it's not difficult to imagine a mother and a father in those strange and dire circumstances wondering about their child's future. In those days, infant mortality was 60%. 60% of children who died in birth, or at birth or near birth. Life expectancy for peasants who made it out of childhood was about 30 years. So Jesus was an old man. As we know, if we ever thought about it, the brutality of poverty limits thinking about the future. Poverty urges concentration in the moment instead of nurturing a kind of wide open wonderment about what if. Then as now, poverty meant meager food, horrendous vulnerability to arbitrary violence, and near constant uncertainty about even the next day. The poverty in which Joseph and Mary lived was a life-defining deprivation of food, shelter, and clothing on a scale that most of us listening to this right now could only imagine in our darkest moments. So let's place all of that in the darkness surrounding the manger. Mary and Joseph, beyond whatever brief moment of awe and joy they were able to have, must have been consumed with anxiety and hunger, frantic about how to keep this baby from dying as the other 60% of offspring that they knew. Now, I point to this painful and awkward reality at the center of our Christmas story because we have otherwise constructed an astonishingly romantic scene of the birth of Jesus that totally distorts the life of the person that we call Messiah. So I will not mention any of this on Christmas Eve, of course. We get a reprieve on Christmas Eve and the Sunday after from textual criticism and deconstruction. But here and now, in this moment, third Sunday of Advent, we can look back with a different lens and see if the picture becomes clearer for us and offers us a new or different insight. So let me begin by backing up and going global, so to speak, to see Jesus in the Christmas story in the context of several world religions. Moses was an abandoned slave child that was raised in a Pharaoh's household, but as an adult, he rejected that privilege and he then led a slave rebellion against his household. Buddha was a prince raised in utter opulence, but upon seeing the extreme brutality and poverty that defined the world on the other side of his walled and gated family compound, he abandoned privilege and became a mendicant. Mohammed was of modest means but surrounded by generous benefactors who raised him, and he himself became a very savvy and successful businessman. But what defined his adult life was the rejection of personal affluence and the embrace of simplicity and generosity. Jesus, as we know, was born in stark and dire poverty, desperately poor and vulnerable, a mere miscreant to the oppressive empire that ruled his world. Jesus never traveled very far from the place he was born, never produced anything physical that survived him, and died horrifically without seeing old age, true old age. So we should recognize a theme here, a golden thread that runs through the spiritual wisdom of the world, of human history. If we pull that thread, it should make us wonder if maybe, just maybe, we're looking for God in all the wrong places. It should give us pause, really it should, to wonder if we are seeking affirmation from empty sources. When we take a step back and we look at the unvarnished pattern, it ought to weaken our confidence in the things we think give us comfort and security. But we also know, deep in our bones, that we're human beings. And we really like stuff. We really like to make a nice, big, soft nest to snuggle in and enjoy. It's natural. We like comfort. We like security. We like pleasure. If it's in our nature, then we need not feel guilty about it. We need not feel ashamed if indeed that is who we are, what kind of creature we are. But the question is, can we do better and be creatures, can we do better than be creatures who like stuff and spend their lives collecting stuff and making stuff and creating stockpiles of stuff and garbage mounds of stuff? Just as we know deep in our bones that we're creatures who like stuff, we also know deep down there inside that if we do not do better than we are, we're going to kill ourselves. Maybe not personally, but corporately, communally, globally, eventually, soon. We know that unless we change, the future is grim. And it's not a new message. It's a message that God keeps sending us. I mean, just continually, over and over and over again, keeps sending it to us. God keeps sending us that message via those who have lived painfully on the other side of affluence. It's an ancient message sent to kings and queens and emperors of the ancient world upon the lips of prophets. It's a message sent to the ancient world, to the medieval world, to the modern world, and now to the postmodern world. It's a message sent to every culture and to the captains of every society. It's a message about the hazards of living for stuff at the expense of truly important things that generate and preserve life rather than draining and killing life. That is what the story of Christmas is about. When all the mythological and romantic elements are peeled away to reveal its fruit, that is what it's about. When we peel it away, it's when we hear Isaiah 61, a prophet's poem that comes to us over and over and over again in the music and the literature of both Christmas and Easter. God delivered this message to us, not once, but over and over and over and over and over again. It's a message that Moses and Buddha and Muhammad and Jesus echo like a broken record. We've got issues with stuff. Building our lives and our world around stuff will kill us, and everything else along with us. It's important to realize that this is not a punitive message. It's not a parental, judgmental message. It's really just a description of the obvious. It's a description of the cause and effect of living in this world. But now this message is getting old, very old. And the question is, now and then, is whether we're going to change. If we're going to actually change how we do things. The Christmas story, like Jesus, who is at the center of it, is that kind of a baby. A baby with a face that only a mother could love. Just as Mary and Joseph couldn't fix their poverty in the moment as they sought to survive in it, we cannot fix our many problems in this moment. But we can allow ourselves to think about them. We can keep the tension alive and let it burn a hot coal between our sacred stories and our unholy existence. We can allow it to agitate us instead of looking away or denying it. We need our sacred stories to agitate us rather than to rock us asleep like a lullaby. So we have this uncomfortable message underneath the romantic cultural Christmas that we all celebrate. It's like a stone in our shoe. Let it be there. The third Sunday of Advent is for stirring the pot, troubling the waters, shaking the Christmas tree to see what's really in it. So I invite us to ponder these things as we walk toward Christmas. I hope that this message and all that we do at Trinity Geneva will be part of your growth, part of your health and wellness. Peace of God be with you.